Hey there and welcome to the KTLA 5 News at 7. Good morning, I'm Frank Buckley.
And good morning, I'm Jessica Holmes. Happening now, gunfire erupts in Hacienda Heights overnight. One person is dead, 2 others were wounded after a house party. We're live with details on the investigation.
3 firefighters are hospitalized this morning after battling a fabric store fire in downtown Los Angeles. We'll have the latest.
President Trump cancels a meeting with Taliban leaders set to take place at Camp David, but critics and members of his own administration say the meeting should not have been scheduled on U.S. soil in the first place.
And here's something to look forward to. Starting tonight, construction work at LAX will impact travelers who use rideshare services. What you need to know coming up. That'll be fun. Let's get a check of the traffic with Ginger Chen.
And you know, Mondays are always busy days, so at least you're kind of waiting till a little bit later on tonight, right? You know, one SIG alert canceled, 5 northbound side of Templin Highway, only for a brand new one to be issued for something we've been discussing. And we'll kind of update the location, 60 westbound side, right about the 15. So originally they said Milliken Avenue. Either way you look at it, the same spot. It was that motorcycle crash. It ended up catching fire. Now the rider is actually injured, but the person who was also involved in the crash took the rider to the hospital. But we are looking at the 3 right lanes being blocked here. Fire department is on scene and they decided to issue a SIG alert. We want to move you over to look at that drive along this stretch of the 5 freeway. So cars coming at us, usually the busy spot. Caltrans camera shows you what it looks like. Kind of filling in for the commute. Telegraph Road is to the left of your screen above where it says 5. It looks like there was something in lanes here. Otherwise, I think that northbound alternate is still a good one. If you want to take that, or of course the free-flowing open drive on the 5 freeway north, looks right about Washington Boulevard, and that volume just normal. The heat will be on later on this week. For now, cool down. We'll send it over to you, Mark Christie.
Movie. Good morning. He has a new movie. We're talking about Danny Trejo. He's going to be coming in a little bit later on this morning. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's a Monday, and look, some clouds. And the temperatures, you could actually really feel it yesterday. It was definitely cooler, which is very nice, and it's going to continue that way for a couple of days, but don't get used to it. We're still not out of the big heat. Beaches, 77 downtown, 81, 86 in the San Fernando Valley. High deserts, 87 inland Empire, 87 Orange County inland, 80 degrees. Frank and Jessica, back to you.
Mark, thank you. Breaking news in Hacienda Heights, where one person was killed in a shooting overnight.
2 other people were also hit by gunfire. Investigators say this all stems from a house party. KTLA's Wendy Birch live in Hacienda Heights with the latest. Wendy, good morning.
Hi, good morning. We're still trying to get all of the details from this, but sheriff's deputies are still actively investigating it all. What they believe at this point, and what neighbors are telling us as well, that this all happened at a house that has been an Airbnb, where there have been a number of house parties that have taken place just about every weekend. But it was last night around 1:30 a.m. that shots rang out in this neighborhood. Now, when sheriff's deputies arrived, they found not just 1, but 2 areas where there had been a shooting that had taken place. They were just a block apart on the 1700 block of Vallecito. Now, according to investigators, when they got here, 1 man was pronounced dead at the scene. That man was shot inside of a car. Now, the woman who was inside of that car with him also was injured, but just superficially. It believes that she may have just gotten some glass particles from the shooting. And then about a block down from that shooting, there was another woman who was shot. This woman was shot in the arm. Sheriff's investigators are looking into whether all of this was gang related. But in the meantime, this is what residents have to say.
I'm watching everybody scattering on the street, and all of a sudden, this guy's shooting with a 9mm. You can just hear it, bam, 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 bam. I'm looking out from my house, and I can see some guy's head on his front yard. These people are gone, so I'm walking over there. As I'm walking over, I can see he's been hit in the heart. He's got a white T-shirt on, and the blood's just streaming down. He's stone cold.
Again, that man pronounced dead at the scene. As we understand, the county coroner has yet to remove the body. This is an ongoing investigation, but neighbors say that they have been incredibly troubled by the amount of parties that have taken place in this otherwise quiet neighborhood. They blame that Airbnb house for the problems that have surfaced. We'll keep you updated, but for right now, that is the very latest here in Hacienda Heights. I'm Wendy Birch, and I'll send it back to you.
Wendy, thank you for that. This morning, Inglewood police are investigating the drowning of a 9-year-old boy with autism. Police say the boy's mother called around 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon after Xavier Dion Portis disappeared at Vincent Park, where she'd stopped to get a drink of water. About 20 officers, bloodhounds, and a helicopter searched for the boy through the afternoon and evening without success. Officers say neighborhood kids discovered the boy's body at the bottom of the park's pool at around 10 o'clock last night. Police say this is likely a tragic accident, but they are still investigating. A daring rescue in Marina del Rey as a sailboat with 3 people on board crashed onto the rocks in rough seas. LA County Sheriff's deputies fought choppy waves and strong winds Saturday afternoon to get to the victims and tend to their injuries. All were rushed back to the Marina del Rey Sheriff's Station and handed over to medics standing by there. The injuries are not considered life-threatening.
Breaking news, 3 firefighters are in the hospital this morning after battling a large fabric store fire in downtown LA. KTLA's Steve Kuj live on the scene with the latest details for us. Steve, good morning.
Good morning to you, Jess. This was not an easy fight, not by a long stretch. More than 180 firefighters are out here trying to battle this thing. Officials describe it as a major emergency. One of the reasons why things were so tough is because this building behind me, this is a fabric store, a fabric warehouse. Look at all these bags of clothes on the ground. All of it extremely flammable. Now just imagine a 10,000-foot structure, 10,000 square foot structure just loaded with tons and tons of boxes of this stuff. And you can understand why things were so treacherous in here. When firefighters got to the scene, flames were shooting through the roof, literally. The fire began late last night. It erupted inside this large warehouse, which is located along 7th Street, just east of Alameda Street here in downtown LA. The business is called Payman Fabric Incorporated, and putting this fire out inside Payman Fabric was not simple. All of the materials inside were just incredibly hot. Fortunately, officials do not believe anybody was inside when this fire overtook the building. Fire crews realized early on in the fight there was no saving the building itself. Officials tell us a team took up defensive postures around the area just to protect the other buildings from catching fire. The whole area is extremely densely populated. You got apartments, shops, restaurants. If this fire got too out of hand, things could have been very bad very quickly. After about 3 hours of bombarding these flames with their water hoses, firefighters managed to get it all under control. The big fires are now out. However, the fire crews are still here at the scene to make sure any of the hot spots don't flare back up. During the firefight, 3 firefighters were injured. 2 of them were hurt pretty badly trying to wrangle one of their large, extremely high-pressured water hoses. I'm told it nearly broke one hand of a firefighter and almost cracked a couple of ribs of another firefighter. A 3rd firefighter suffered exhaustion just from the intensity and the length of this battle. Thankfully, all their injuries are non-life-threatening, but they're in the hospital this morning. Just an example of how dangerous their job can be.
Firefighters have been doing an outstanding job giving it their all to ensure that the fire does not spread to adjacent buildings, and subsequently we have 3 firefighters that have suffered injury and are being evaluated by firefighter paramedics. However, at this point we're glad to say that they're in stable condition.
The roof of this building has been completely burned away. You can see smoke and ash still kind of rising from the top. You know, things still smoldering in there that needs to be looked at. And again, let's just pan over and show you how great of a job fire crews did, because this was so out of control, but still firefighters managed to save the nearby buildings that were just right adjacent to it. And, you know, just can't give them enough kudos for what they did here this morning. This fire is still under investigation. We're likely going to get an update a little bit later today on that. For now, live in downtown LA, I'm Steve Kuj, KTLA 5. Frank, Jess, back to you.
Steve, thank you. Now at 7, Dorian has weakened to a cyclone, hammering Canada's Atlantic coast with heavy rain and winds. But in the Bahamas, where the storm was parked for nearly 2 days, the damage and devastation is being compared to a war zone. The death toll increased over the weekend to 44, with hundreds still reported missing. 70,000 are now homeless. There is no power or running water. The government says 1,200 square miles of the islands are covered with debris. Rescue teams are still digging through debris fields, searching for more survivors. U.S. Customs and Border Protection is defending a policy that caused dozens of displaced residents of the Bahamas to leave a humanitarian ship bound for Miami. Some of the victims of Hurricane Dorian did not have the proper documents and were told they would be turned away from U.S. shores. They had to leave the ship yesterday before it sailed for the U.S.
CBP told them that everyone that doesn't have a U.S. visa and who's traveling on police record has to come off. At the last minute like this, you know, it's kind of disappointing. It's hurtful because watching my daughters cry, but yeah, it is what it is.
Customs and Border Protection says anyone who arrives in the U.S. from another country must possess valid identity and travel documents. Nearly 1,500 hurricane survivors arrived on a cruise ship at the port of Palm Beach on Saturday. CBP agents say they were processed without any problems.
The victims of Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas, obviously in desperate need of life-saving help. Our partners at UNICEF are on the ground there right now, providing relief to the countless families and children affected. Water, shelter, food, medicine, the most urgent needs. If you'd like to help the survivors, you can visit unicefusa.org/Dorian to make a donation. Even the smallest donation can make a world of difference because humanitarian organizations like UNICEF make that dollar go far. President Trump is being criticized this morning by Democrats, diplomats, and fellow Republicans for scheduling peace talks with Taliban leaders and Afghanistan's president at Camp David and then canceling them. The cancellation in response to the Taliban taking credit for an attack that killed a U.S. soldier in Kabul. KTLA's Eric Spillman in the newsroom with more. Eric, good morning.
Morning, Frank. New this morning, several news outlets are reporting that Vice President Mike Pence opposed the idea of inviting the Taliban to come to the United States. After all, the Taliban allowed al-Qaeda to train in Afghanistan for the 9/11 attacks, and the anniversary of 9/11 is just 2 days from now. But according to reports, the president thought it was a good plan, and now he's facing a backlash. On Saturday, the president announced on Twitter that he was canceling what was supposed to be a secret meeting. He had asked the leaders of the Taliban to come to Washington, D.C. The Taliban controls about half of Afghanistan these days. The president wanted to hold a summit with the group at the Camp David presidential retreat. The Trump administration's been negotiating with the Taliban for about a year. The two sides had been discussing a deal for the U.S. to remove 5,000 troops from Afghanistan. And in exchange, the Taliban would promise to reduce violence there and prevent Afghanistan from becoming a haven again for terrorists. But last week, the Taliban claimed responsibility for a car bomb in Kabul that killed 12 people, including a U.S. soldier. The president decided that the meeting and the deal were off. His Secretary of State went on the Sunday talk shows and faced some tough questions.
Who thought it was a good idea for the president of the United States to meet with Taliban leaders who have the blood of thousands of Americans on their hands just 3 days before 9/11?
You know, we know the history of Camp David. We reflected on that as we were thinking about how to deliver for the American people. President Trump ultimately made the decision. He said, I want to talk to President Ghani. I want to talk to these Taliban negotiators. I want to look them in the eye.
Republican leaders like Congresswoman Liz Cheney criticized the president for where he planned to hold the meeting. Cheney tweeted, Camp David is where America's leaders met to plan our response after al-Qaeda, supported by the Taliban, killed 3,000 Americans on 9/11. No member of the Taliban should set foot there, ever. Democrats also piled on.
To bring the Taliban on the eve of the 18th anniversary of September 11th is about as outrageous as it gets. But this is about the president who is more interested in sizzle than substance. High-wire diplomacy, as I've said, without a safety net.
All right, here's an old tweet from Donald Trump from 2012. Back then, he criticized then-President Obama for negotiating with the Taliban. Trump wrote, while Barack Obama is slashing the military, he's also negotiating with our sworn enemy, the Taliban, who facilitated 9/11. Now that tweet, again, from 7 years ago. This morning, the Taliban released a statement saying that the cancellation of the meeting at Camp David over the weekend will result in the deaths of more American soldiers in Afghanistan. Frank?
All right, Eric, thank you for that. A young football fan's homemade T-shirt has gone viral. The Florida youngster wanted to support his favorite team, the Tennessee Volunteers, on College Colors Day. But he didn't have the official gear. He got creative, wrote UT on a piece of paper and pinned it to his orange shirt. Says some of his classmates made fun of him and bullied him. His teacher asked for support on Facebook. The University of Tennessee heard about it and sent him a package full of swag. They even added the boy's design to their official T-shirt line. That is awesome.
Isn't that nice?
Don't be a jerk and make fun of kids.
Don't.
I mean, honestly.
How many times a day could we say that while we're reading the news? Don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk.
Sadly. But it was fun to have football back. Did you sit in the house and watch football all weekend?
I watched a little bit. I went for a bike ride. I was working, you know.
So you were active.
I was active.
You weren't just a couch potato all weekend.
I can't say the same.
You can't say the same.
No. And my Miami Dolphins. Wow.
Wah, wah.
Wow. They lost 59-10.
Oh.
Ouch.
That's not so bad.
Home opener, too. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's going to be a rough year. And the Patriots,
You got a good picker, man.
Yeah, I got to agree. Yeah. The Patriots, I mean, they're just unstoppable. It's amazing.
That's why we all love the Patriots so much. America loves the Patriots.
It's almost like you don't have to watch
Here
the
comes
season.
the hate mail.
You know the end of the story. It's like, okay, see you in January or February now when the Super Bowl happens. Sets are looking good today, and boy, the surfers are out there enjoying it. Absolutely beautiful morning at the beaches, and we do have cooler temperatures, which is kind of nice. 67 right now, 1 degree warmer than it was yesterday at this time, and the winds are calm in downtown Los Angeles. Looking at the almanac yesterday, our high 81 degrees, average is 84. First time in a long time we were slightly below normal. 103 was the record set, 1984. Looking at the 10-day forecast, enjoy the cooler weather because it's not going to last. Tomorrow, we're going to reach 79, and then over the next, heading into next weekend, at the end of the week, back up to 90 and 91 degrees, and then it drops off. So our heat waves, they're still going to hit, but hopefully not hold quite as long as this last set. Temperatures for the beaches, 76 for 3 days in a row. Then we're right back up to about 82 and 83 degrees heading into the weekend. For the mountains, we're looking at 71 degrees. Look at the overnight lows dropping down to 34 degrees on Tuesday. And then we go from 71 back up to 76 and 78 degrees. Finally, the high desert, 88, 81. That goes right back up to 94, 97, even 100 degrees on Saturday. And then it starts to drop off on Sunday. That's a look at your weather forecast. Let's go to Ginger in traffic.
And now, traffic by Spectrum Mobile.
Yes, because we do have a few things now starting to develop for your drive in Orange County. But let's make a move over to look at that 60 westbound side right at the 15. So they're still calling for the SIGALERT for the carpool and the left lanes, all because of the serious situation involving a motorcyclist. So the motorcycle crash ended up catching fire, and the rider actually transported to the hospital 14 miles per hour in that spot. So it's pretty slow. You're popping over to the 10 freeway, and that does look like it's fairly challenging as well. 5 north at Oso Parkway. Usually that's not a terribly busy spot, but we do have reports now that tie-up involves a car that smashed into the center divider and may still be in lanes there. Overall, the conditions slower than normal. The southbound side is actually a really nice ride. 405 northbound side. Usually north isn't actually that busy here. Right above Bolsa Avenue, they're saying that crash is still in lanes as well. The southbound side, to me, this is actually a normal look at the south commute. In fact, sometimes it breaks free once you get a little closer in towards, say, Fountain Valley, and I think that's actually a pretty good ride. In fact, it stays that way all the way over towards the El Toro Y. Sometimes it bunches up at the El Toro Y, so we'll take that nice ride on a Monday morning. That's a check of the ride, guys. I'll send it back to you, Justin Frank.
Ginger, thank you. NASA is hoping a little star power will help get young people excited about space.
It's not an option or an issue. Oh, our mission is the goal that we commit to. And the science that we do is beneficial. We'll explore the universe because we're NASA.
Interns at NASA's Johnson Space Center channeled pop star Ariana Grande, remixing her song NASA and making it their own. Grande's song's about a woman who needs some space from her boyfriend. The interns switched up the lyrics to share excitement for the Artemis Lunar Exploration Program. That's NASA's plan to get Americans back on the moon by 2024. According to the space agency, the educational parody is a part of a volunteer outreach project. And he's in the spacesuit, dancing in the spacesuit.
Do you need that?
What are you looking for?
What's going on over there?
Just clicking and clanging
All right,
around here.
lost a cap.
Yeah, there. I got it, though.
Okay, good.
Never a dull moment.
Hello, Dana.
Hi,
Good morning.
guys. How are you?
Good.
In for Sam. Heard Sam's been enjoying some buffets.
Oh, yeah?
We've gotten
That's
word.
surprising.
Yeah, second and 2 and 3 trips.
Yeah.
His brother, apparently his brother or somebody told us that. So.
No idea.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay.
He's doing well.
Okay, good.
Meanwhile, a beautiful day in the neighborhood and the red carpet. It was a Tom Hanks takeover at the Toronto International Film Festival where he plays Mr. Rogers and talks all about the American icon.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Would you be mine? There's nobody in media, there's nobody in television, there's nobody in the, I think, in the consciousness that didn't already have an understanding, as well as I think an opinion of Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. You have to look at his output on television, and it was singularly honest. And I think you'd easily dismiss it because it wasn't an honesty that mattered to you and me. It was an honesty that mattered to extremely young people who did not know how the world worked.
You could play all the lowest keys on a piano at the same time.
He just wanted to make little kids, little human beings, feel safe, even if they didn't have all the answers or couldn't understand all the answers. Please won't you be my neighbor?
Wow.
Looks like
so
him.
It's
good.
unbelievable.
Wow, he embodies that.
What an unbelievable. You know, when they first said the casting of Tom Hanks for him, I was like, I can't say that. And then you see him in the role and you're like, you realize all over again what a talented actor he is.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
You know when you go home and you take off your uncomfortable shoes and then you put, don't you think of Mr. Rogers every time? When I put my slippers on when I get home, I think of him.
When I was a kid, though, I didn't understand this change. I'm like, why does he need to put on that sweater
comfy
and those
sweater?
sneakers every time?
Right.
But as an adult, grown-up shoes are uncomfortable.
They're uncomfortable.
And you need to put on your comfy shoes.
And you know, and every time I put on a cardigan, I think about that. I love this. I'm so looking forward to this. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood hits theaters November 22nd. Now to more at the Toronto International Film Festival, Hustlers had its world premiere and all the stars.
A different kind of
project. We're going from one
Different
extreme to the other.
Yeah,
different neighborhood.
Well,
yes, they will be your neighbor. They showed off their fashion A game, including Jennifer Lopez, who looked absolutely stunning in this yellow Maison Yaya dress. Check out her purse. It bodes well with the theme of her movie. It's by Judith Lieber. It was money, by the way. It was like a dollar bill.
Stack of money.
Yeah. Fun fact, the dress is haute couture, meaning priceless and custom, and her purse goes for almost $5,700. We also couldn't help but admire that selfie, right? I mean, her makeup's on point. It was done by Harouche, who has over 2.4 million followers on Instagram. J-Lo wasn't the only starlet to bring it on the carpet. Constance Wu, Lily Reinhart, Keke Palmer, Madeline Brewer were all in attendance looking fabulous. J-Lo and Constance Wu talked about why they joined the film.
You know, I read the script and I thought it was a really interesting character and an interesting story. Just thought this is something that I could really sink my teeth into, something I could do really would be fun for me to explore. Also a tiny bit scary.
I think because it explored the humanity of characters that society has often placed judgment upon. And I think as artists, our obligation is to give humanity to those whose stories haven't been told.
You guys notice the funniest things. So Frank, while we're watching this, Jessica and I were talking about how she lines her lips on the outside, how we look so stupid when we do it.
Yes.
Like we look
the other day I just to make the lips look a little full. And my husband said, you look like, well, I won't say.
Yeah.
It wasn't a I said, hey, J-Lo's doing it. And he goes, well, it's not doing this.
My husband said the same thing, and he goes, you know, men aren't stupid. We can see where your lips begin and end, so stop. We're not fooled.
Yeah.
I know.
We're not
And
fooled.
women more so.
And
But
then-
it looks like you were putting your lipstick on in the car and you hit a speed bump.
but yet, when she does it.
Yeah. No, it still doesn't work.
And then Frank was talking about how that man staring at Constance Wu's ear while she's talking.
I think he was just really listening, hanging on every word.
It was like,
but it was even
Does that make
closer
you
than that.
uncomfortable?
All right, well, listen, the fabulous thing of this thing is I just thought this was going to be a really good time of a movie, but it's actually getting amazing reviews. Mashable says it's an unapologetically great time with a powerful message, and it's also perceptive enough to show how we all get bleeped over. Variety is saying flashy, fleshy, and all around impossible to ignore. Hustlers amounts to nothing less than a cultural moment. And IndieWire says it's also funny, empowering, sexy, emotional, and a bit scary, with most of those superlatives coming care of a full-force performance from Jennifer Lopez, who's genuinely deserving of awards consideration. Hustler opens in theaters this Friday. Interesting, she's actually getting award show buzz for that. Lastly, at TIFF, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association and the Hollywood Reporter held a party to celebrate the festival. A-listers who attended the bash included Nicole Kidman, Jamie Foxx, Dakota Johnson, Eddie Redmayne, Felicity Jones, Kerry Washington, just to name a few. And here's what they had to say about what they love about the festival.
You always look to Toronto because the selections are always so on point. always very interesting. Their lineup is always to be noted.
I will always love this festival. This is where Ray premiered initially, so I have a really special relationship with Toronto.
It's always so nice because you see people you haven't seen for ages, and you remember the sense of community that you don't always have when you're all living all over the world.
It's that it feels like it sort of pumps energy into this time of year. It's like everyone's been on their summer holiday, and suddenly this whole load of films are kind of released to the world. And for me, what I love is you get to see old friends that you haven't seen for a while, people you've worked with recently, like Felicity, who I'm doing Aeronauts with, but then old pals who I haven't seen for a long, long time.
The Toronto International Film Festival continues through September 15th. That is your entertainment report. Mark?
It's great stuff. Thank you very much. Hey, good morning, everybody. And what?
They
Mark?
told me to go straight to weather.
Yeah. That you?
She did.
She did.
Sometimes
And, yeah.
they sound
Back
really
to you,
stern
Mark. Thank
in
you.
your ear, and
Yeah.
so I get scared.
But it was very sort of fun.
It was. I've never heard her do that.
I get nervous.
I don't, yeah. And I wasn't
They yell
expecting
at me
it.
all the time.
All right. Come on. The camera's in focus. They won't let me step in.
You're still not there.
Look at that. Beautiful shot. Look at those waves. Wow. Those are some huge sets coming in. Boink. Push the button. And there we go. Let's have a look at what is going on in the weather forecast. 67 in Los Angeles, Fullerton 68, Ontario 64, Camarillo 60 degrees. Looking at air quality, not too bad. We've got, of course, when you go up into the desert and the mountains and the further inland you go, in the upper desert areas, we do have some areas of unhealthful air, but mostly moderate to good air quality. Low trough spilling a lot of rain just to the north of us, and that trough, this is the second one, which is continuing to give us some cooler temperatures over the next few days. That's really nice. It was great yesterday. You could really feel the difference, and especially in the morning and the evening. So our daytime highs for today, once again, definitely on the cooler side. Look at the valley. All these temperatures were in the upper 90s just a week ago this time. Even by Friday and Saturday, we were still into the 90s and some into the 100-degree mark. Everything pretty well in the 80s. Going to the beaches, 75 to 77 degrees, 79 in Oxnard, Santa Barbara at 86 degrees. Right here in Hollywood, we can expect a high of 80 degrees. 73 to 72 Orange County beaches. Inland just a bit, 80s. And then for the Inland Empire, reflecting pretty well what's going on in the valleys, those numbers in the mid-80s, 82 in Temecula, 97 degrees in Palm Springs. Los Angeles, 81. Tomorrow, even down to 79 degrees for a daytime high. It hasn't been that cool in a long time. Overnight lows also dropping down to 65 and 67 degrees. Inland Empire, 87, all the way down to 83 degrees. But we're right back up there by Friday, 100 degrees. Orange County Inland, 80, 79, 89, 93, and 91 degrees. San Fernando Valley, 86, 80. And then it goes up to 96 and by Friday into the triple digits. So once again, we're not out of the heat yet, just that the heat waves are a little bit shorter. Let's go to Ginger in traffic.
And now, traffic by Spectrum Mobile.
What is this? I'm going to get deeper into September and we'll still see those triple digits. My goodness. We're going to update you about some of our SIG alerts, but we want to take you to our live look, looking at your drive if you have plans to be on the 101 freeway, which we know fills in fairly quickly now that everyone's back to work and school. So let's just say you're leaving Hollywood along the stretch of the 101 southbound side and you're getting closer to, say, Silver Lake Boulevard, heading up towards, say, downtown LA. You know, so far the conditions just steady more than anything else. If you get closer to the 110 heading towards downtown, that's where things bunch up, and then it breaks free as you get closer in towards East LA. 405 freeway, the northbound side of Bolsa Avenue. The crash is interesting because they did issue the signal for the carpool left lanes, but it sounded like a couple of the vehicles already made their way over to the right shoulder. So we'll still go with the signal. You can tell both directions, very tough conditions now, everything filling in. And this signal continues because 60 westbound side, right at about the 15, it was a motorcycle crash, but then the bike caught fire. So there's a lot of activity here. We're talking about the 3 left lanes being closed. So far, you're down to about 22 miles per hour. Now, we know that the rider was transported to the hospital. How serious his injuries, we don't know that yet. Hopefully not too serious. You can tell things are pretty tough, though, for both the 10 freeway as well as the 60. So the 10 if you opt for that as an alternate. I'll send it back to you guys.
Ginger, thank you. Still ahead, if you use ride-share services to be picked up at LAX, you may need to change your plans.
A big construction project is underway, how long it'll last, plus how the project could impact where you drop off or pick up passengers.
And a teenager accidentally solves a cold case disappearance of a woman who went missing decades ago. How he did it, coming up.
Plus, a costly mistake made even worse. How much a teller transferred to the wrong account that now has one couple in trouble with the law.
And now, traffic Traffic by Spectrum Mobile.
I believe on that 405 north of Bolsa Avenue, cancel that Sigler because it sounds like they're not sending any more units there. But the one that's still sticking is the 60 westbound side of Milliken Avenue, or 60 west, excuse me, right about the 15, same spot. We still have those 3 left lanes closed. A motorcycle crash resulted in a motorcycle fire. Now, the person was taken to the hospital, so hopefully no serious injuries, but already a pretty tough spot here. We're moving at only about 14 miles per hour as you get closer to the crash site. We'll move you over to look at that 91 eastbound side of Arlington Avenue. So they're saying that type involves a couple of cars. Sometimes we'll see delays here, so don't be surprised if that's the case. But out of that move-out interchange, you ride those brakes. And once you get closer to the Riverside interchange, it looks like things get a tiny bit better. So we'll watch that drive for everybody as well. And hopefully the reopening and the cancellation of the Sigler on the 60 West. We'll see. That's going to be a hot spot anyway. We'll send it over to Mark Kriske.
Thank you very much. Good morning. And it's a Monday, cooler temperatures. It's finally starting to feel a little like fall. Fall just a couple of days away. For today, 77. It's even going to be cooler tomorrow, which is really nice. Los Angeles, 81, 86 in the San Fernando Valley. High Desert, 87, 87 Inland Empire, Orange County Inland, 80 degrees. Frank, Jessica, back to you.
Well, if you're flying into or out of LAX over the next few months, you should know that work is getting underway on a major renovation.
Starting tonight, the construction work will impact travelers who rely on rideshare services. KTLA's Megan Tellis joins us live now from LAX with the details on that. Megan, good morning.
Jess and Frank, good morning. It is Monday right here at LAX. So congested per usual, has been congested here for months because of that $5.5 billion renovation project underway. And it'll be underway for the next 4 years. So we have some time as we get into video now. We're talking all the way until 2023. But let's take it easy, right? What's going on in the month of September so we know how our commute's going to look? We know that 4 major projects are underway, part of this large program. A people mover is coming, a consolidated rent-a-car facility on its way, additional parking, also roadway improvements. But for terminals 1 and 2, and again this month as we get information up on the screen, the rightmost drop-off lane on the upper departures level closed to vehicles until March 2020 while it's used for this covered pedestrian walkway. For about 10 days starting later this month, all of the inner lanes on the lower arrivals level will be closed overnight, heads up, with 1 lane reopened during the day. Terminals 2 and 3 starting today through Friday the 13th, a section of the inner lanes on the lower arrivals level scheduled to be closed while work takes place to widen that center island curb. You're encouraged, consider parking in a structure when picking up your passengers. For the Tom Bradley International Terminal, the rightmost pickup lane on the lower arrivals level closed between columns B2 and B5 for use as this pedestrian walkway. You're encouraged, consider parking or picking up passengers south of that closure. Now we know if you ride share, please listen up. Starting tonight for the next 2 nights, if you ride Uber, Lyft, any other ride sharing service, pickup stops will be closed. I will repeat that starting tonight for the next 2 nights, pickup stops will be closed. The other closures affecting terminals 5 and 6 will open again November 14th. Here's a recommendation for all of you. If you have Twitter, please follow @FlyLAX Stats, okay? Fly LAX Stats, because you're going to get real-time information as to what's closed, how much time it's going to take from one terminal to the next, getting off the freeway right here to LAX. If you don't have a Twitter account, open one and then follow that handle. Police officers here at LAX are bearing with you, saying, okay, we're not going to ticket anyone quite yet because we know it's really congested here. So take a look at the signs, come prepared, and come with lots of time on your side. That's the latest for you, Jess and Frank, and everyone at home. Happy Monday. I'll send it back to you in Hollywood.
Is it a happy Monday? All right, Megan, thank you. Now to developing news. 4 people are missing after a cargo ship capsized off the Georgia coast. The 650-foot ship named the Golden Ray capsized yesterday in St. Simons Sound. The ship, which was sailing under the Marshall Islands flag, had been expected to arrive in Baltimore today. The U.S. Coast Guard was among the agencies to respond. They were able to rescue 20 crew members. The missing crew members, all South Korean nationals, have been confirmed to be in the ship's engine room, according to South Korea's foreign ministry. The Coast Guard says the search mission was postponed because of a fire that broke out on the ship.
We're going to use a number of massive tugs to move it, to pull it back into an upright floating position. It's going to be a very delicate job. It'll take probably a couple of weeks to do it.
And rescue efforts are expected to resume once that vessel is stable. Teenager in Canada is being credited with solving a decades-old cold case. 13-year-old Max Wawrinka was using a GoPro camera while swimming in Griffin Lake in British Columbia. He stumbled upon a car that was flipped over at the bottom and told his family. Police and divers were called in, and the car was brought up from the depths. It belonged to a woman who went missing in 1992. Her remains were inside.
I couldn't imagine what it'd be like for that many years not understanding whatever happened to a loved one.
The woman identified as a 69-year-old Janet Ferris. She was driving from Vancouver Island to Alberta, Canada when she vanished without a trace.
A Pennsylvania couple is facing felony theft charges after spending $120,000 that wasn't theirs. The money was mistakenly deposited into their BB&T bank account back in May by a teller. Instead of speaking up, the couple allegedly spent the money, all in a matter of 2.5 weeks. State police say they bought an SUV, 2 four-wheelers, a camper, and a car trailer. They also used the money on bills, car repairs, cash purchases, even gave $15,000 to friends. Neighbors say they're stunned.
Check in with the bank first before I did anything. I'm not that dumb, but I mean, yeah, some people do stupid things sometimes.
Once the bank realized its mistake, it transferred the money back to the correct account. Bank told the couple they also had to pay back $107,000 in overdraft fees.
Wow.
Still ahead this morning, a dangerous crash.
Race car driver recovering this morning after crashing during a Formula 3 race in Italy. An update on his condition coming up.
Also, it is the perfect summer beach drama. We're talking live with Poppy Montgomery about her role on the hit ABC show Reef Break.
Mark's up next with a complete linkage forecast, including your 7-day.
Traffic is brought to you by Spectrum Mobile.
An Australian race car driver is recovering after a serious crash during a Formula 3 race in Italy. Alex Peroni took a turn too wide, hitting a curb separating the track and the runoff. His car immediately went airborne, flipping through the air before slamming into a catch barrier. Peroni suffered a broken vertebrae in the terrifying accident. He is expected to be okay, but will miss several races while he recovers.
I hate when that happens.
Missed several races, you think?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that thing just took
I know.
like a rocket.
And imagine, I wonder if after that happens, they go back and look at video.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
But you wonder if they.
And the guys who are behind him are just seeing this car flying through the air. Wow. Okay. On to brighter things, and that is the beach shot. Beautiful, big-time sets coming in. There's a little bit of a tropical disturbance happening just to the south of us, and that's what's kicking up the waves. Burbank at 62, Santa Ana at 69, 57, and Corona, Oxnard 59 degrees. Wind advisory, and that is until 3 o'clock or 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. And it's going to be a little bit breezy in the valleys, the upper desert areas, and even along some of the coastal areas. Looking at the future forecast, a lot of rain and another depression heading into the north to us, up into British Columbia and into Seattle. But it's going to bring in another trough. With the combination of those two troughs, the one that went through and the next one, we can expect to see nice, cool temperatures. 81, 79, 81. There's your cool temperatures. But it ends by Friday, heading into Saturday, right back up into the 90-degree mark. 87, 83. That hits right back up to 100 degrees. Orange County inland, 80, 79. That goes right back up to 93 and 91 degrees. And then finally, looking at the San Fernando Valley, 86. That jumps right back up into the triple digits, heading into Friday and Saturday. All right, that's it. Let's go to Ginger in traffic.
And now, traffic by Spectrum Mobile.
Let's do it. So I want to move you first to look at the drive along the Garden Grove Freeway, the westbound side at the 5. So that is always a really crowded spot. The configuration of the freeways just kind of lends itself to that. But anyway, we have reports that there is a wreck involving possibly a bus with some passengers aboard. No injury, no reports of any injuries, anything like that. But that's usually a really tough spot. And so they're saying the middle lanes are blocked, and that can really have a big domino effect to some of those surrounding freeways, okay? 91 eastbound side, so right about Cherry Avenue, Avenue at tight with 2 cars. I think this one does have injuries. A little slow heading east. Westbound side looks fairly crowded as well. Of course, usually west is that real busy spot. We want to take you in towards the Inland Empire. The good news is cancel that signal at 60 westbound side right at the 15. It was a serious one involving a motorcyclist. Possibility of some injuries at that. But nevertheless, now that they've reopened up those lanes, we'll see some slight recovery. The 10 freeway was equally as slow. So if you offer that as one way to get around that busy 60, you may want to stay on that 60 freeway because now that they've reopened up the rest of those 3 left lanes. That's Check of the Ride. Jess, Frank, I'll send it back to you too.
All right, it is the perfect summer beachy drama. Reef Break takes us to paradise, but not all is as it seems. To welcome us, to tell us more about it, welcome Poppy Montgomery.
Welcome us.
How are
Hello,
you?
Poppy.
Could you
Welcome.
Thank you for welcoming us. I've spent all of 5 minutes with Poppy, and I decided I already love you so much.
Thank you.
You are so funny and cool and real. She was telling us earlier she's got this really cool ring on.
I do.
It's got like this fringe on it.
Look at that.
That is beautiful, but not necessarily practical. Why?
Well, I was pushing my hair out of my eyes, and I may have given myself a concussion.
You slapped yourself in the face.
It has an evil eye, though, so it's protecting me supposedly from anything bad.
Exactly.
I know. I've also got a black eye from the evil eye.
Of course, of course. So I had more fun reading your bio than I think anybody else I've ever met. So I didn't realize that you and your siblings are all named after flowers.
We are, and my daughter is a flower.
She's
as well.
Violet.
Yes,
Yes.
Violet. So we have Rosie Thorn,
Okay.
Daisy Yellow,
Right.
Marigold Sun, Lily Bell, and I'm Poppy Petal.
But actually, you're Poppy Petal, Emma Elizabeth Devereaux Donahue Montgomery.
Yes, you got them all right.
How do
All
you
of
do
that
a
on your
monogram?
driver's license.
Yeah.
No,
How do you
they
do a
don't.
monogram?
They shorten it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just do the Poppy Petal.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
PP,
that's
yeah, it's
great.
easier. I have so many names, and all of my children have a lot of names.
I have many names too, but they can't be printed on anything. So, yeah.
Well, I have those names as well.
Right. So I read, this is my favorite part about you. Did you get expelled from 6 different schools?
I did.
Oh my God.
Private girls' schools were not my
not your thing?
jam.
Yeah.
No. And then I dropped
What
out.
sort
at
of
14.
things were you doing to get
Do you know what? Here's the thing. Because it was a private girls'
Yeah.
school, you don't even have to do that much.
Right.
You just have to sort of not conform, which I was really good at. And I may have had a few choice swear words that I picked.
It happens.
I may have tried to get expelled. I wanted to be at schools that had boys in them. and so I had to go
You
through
had a
all
method to your madness.
Right.
I did.
And
It
did
was
you
very-
succeed?
I finally got to a co-ed school, and then I dropped out, and I was like, I'm going to go to America and be an actor. So that
And
once
that
I
worked
got there-
out.
It did.
That really worked out.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
know.
Let's talk about Reef Break because is this kind of, because you're actually producing this too, which I think is great.
Yes.
Is this kind of an homage of all the things you've done kind of all coming together?
It is in a lot of ways. I love the ocean. I love surfing. I have always wanted to be a criminal.
Okay.
Somehow I'm always playing cops and I'm always on the right side of the law. And I don't know how that happened since I was always the girl most likely to be
expelled.
in jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we came up with this character who's a surfing criminal badass. She's like my alter ego. I have 5 kids and I'm married and I'm not a very good surfer and I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Right.
She's a criminal who's a pro surfer who has no kids and sleeps with everybody on the entire island. And she doesn't feel bad about it. So I was like, great, this is very empowering for me.
Right. And you guys got to film in Australia, which is where you're from. Is that nice to be able to film in your homeland?
It is. It was absolutely gorgeous. We filmed on the Gold Coast, Queensland, Great Barrier Reef. So it looks amazing. There's nowhere else that looks
And did you say you have 5 children?
I have 5
Did
children.
I hear that?
Yes.
Wow.
Are they all, because the boys aren't named after flowers though?
No, we have Jackson and Braden are
Okay.
the boys, and then we have Violet and Gus. We have 3 boys.
Got it.
You forgot about Gus.
I was like, little Gus.
Poor
because
Gus.
Gus is my
Gus.
little baby, little
Aw,
Gus.
little
And it's
Gus.
not short for anything. He's 4. Gus is just Gus. Gus.
I love Gus already. Let's go ahead and take a look at a clip.
Kat, you should not be here.
Listen, I wanted to give you this before I go. It's a debit card. Ton of cash in there. Otter has the pin. Now, if I get caught, which I won't, or if I die, which I won't, I want you to know that you are taken care of. Spend it wisely, okay?
Kat, whatever you have planned, you need to be careful. He will turn on you too.
Oh, don't you worry about me. I can handle Doug, oh, Casey.
Good luck, Kat.
Be safe.
Love it. Love it already. I just love anything on the beach.
Oh, well, this is good because that's the only episode I'm actually wearing any real clothing.
Oh.
Because I'm on the run. Normally I'm on a jet ski in a dress where my mother was like, are you actually wearing a bra? And I was like, I am. It's just very low cut. It's a beach situation. We're doing a beach
I saw
show.
lots of wetsuit. I saw a lot of wetsuits. Yeah.
And little dresses and running on the beach where I got also a concussion from that. I really shouldn't run that fast. I'm a double D. And I was like, the running very fast on the beach for me is a whole other
hazardous
thing. Yes.
It can happen. You do your own stunts.
Especially when you run fast. I was like, I should do slow motion running.
You're the best. I love you so much. You come back anytime.
Thank
you are
you.
so fun.
Thank
you so much. The season finale of Reef Break will air Friday, September 13th at 10 p.m. on ABC. Thank you, Poppy.
Poppy Petal.
Poppy Petal.
Thank you.
Great to
There
see
you
you.
go.
Still ahead this morning, celebrating man's best friend.
This weekend, it's going to be a doggy paradise at the Queen Mary. We'll have a preview of a festival just for dogs with plenty of fun activities for them.
And the student who designed an accessory for the iPad and used the latest tech tools to make it a success. Rich DeMuro has his story coming up in TechSmart. A local 16-year-old invents a successful iPad accessory using a 3D printer.
Rich DeMuro introduces us to him in today's TechSmart. Hey, Rich.
Hey, a little Motivation Monday here for you. Apple's set to unveil its latest gadgets tomorrow at an event in Cupertino. But today, we're taking a look at the impact of their products, specifically how one local 16-year-old saw an opportunity to improve the iPad. So he created an accessory that he sold nationwide.
At just 16 years old,
it took a little bit of tweaking just to get the thicknesses right, but the design itself is pretty simple.
Samson Taxon is less interested in Instagram.
So you would hit get started, it's gonna boot up.
And more concerned with creating.
I'm very into technology, making things in general.
The Los Angeles area student has already made an iPhone game and an app to help you study.
Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm going to be your study partner today.
My grandfather was an electrical engineer, and he really got me into making things, but I've always had an interest in taking things apart, knowing how things work, and wanting to just create things that are new.
Which all led him to design this, a 3D printed iPad accessory called Grip, spelled GRP.
When I would start taking notes, I would be like, oh, I have my iPad, but where did my pencil go? I thought it was supposed to stay on.
On Apple's latest iPad Pro, the Apple Pencil magnetically attaches to the side, but it doesn't always stay there. So Samson designed the tiny stick-on grip and thought others might find it useful too. He placed the $10 accessory on Kickstarter.
I was expecting to sell 10, 15 at the most.
The item fully funded in the first day. Sales have since topped 500 units.
People who have received theirs are very happy with it. I've been getting more suggestions about changing the design.
And still, no one who bought one knows they're dealing with a junior in high school. Further proof, tech tools can help make anyone a success story.
It's amazing that people my age can get into this. You don't have to have a degree yet. You don't have to have experience working at a job. You can get started just with your phone or just with your computer.
All right, you can bet this is not the last time we're going to hear from Samson. I think he's got a very bright future. Now, as for Apple, their next reveal will be tomorrow morning. I will be in Cupertino, where we are expecting to see the latest and newest iPhones. I'll go hands-on with those Wednesday morning right here. But until then, you can follow me on Twitter at Rich DeMuro for the play-by-play live from the event. All right, RichOnTech.tv for more information on that iPad accessory. Jess and Frank, I'll tell you, I was a little jealous because even I don't have an iPad Pro. I still got the old regular iPad.
Our TechSmart guys got the old regular iPad.
This is an outrage.
It really is. We got to work on that, Rich. Still ahead, probing for evidence.
Investigators have served search warrants in their investigation into the deadly dive boat fire off the coast of Santa Cruz Island. What we're learning this morning.
And the fight of his life. An 8-year-old boy recalls the heart-pounding struggle as he faced off with a ferocious mountain lion.
Plus a bar tab nightmare. A man gets charged thousands of dollars for a beer. How he managed to get out of paying that bill.